to general characteristics of plants. What are they?
Cell wall.
Well, yeah, they have a cell wall made of cellulose. They're multicellular. Good. Eukaryotes. Autotrophs. How do they make their own food? Photosynthesis. So you're going to learn that whole process now. What else? Last characteristic. Yeah.
They're non-motile.
They're non-motile. And then some extra facts of reproduction. They reproduce sexually and asexually. So, plants' evolutionary process is pretty intense because they had to figure out a way to survive from a world primarily made of water to a world of land. And you know, water is one of, obviously the essential components of life. But when they had easy access to water, because they were in the water, they were submerged plants, and then they become land plants, and they have to figure out a way to there was other challenges, okay, besides obtaining water. So, but if water became a limited resource, what do you think is the first major evolutionary adaptation?
Roots.
Okay, roots for what?
For collecting water.
So they have roots to anchor themselves. Those are roots, even though I was going to say that. And obtain water. What else? They had to prevent what? Well, yeah, always. They went from land to water, and that's your main focus. What did they have to try to prevent? So water loss, good. They had to figure out a way to keep the water that they can actually obtain. So that was a critical component. Why did they have to hold up their leaves? Photosynthesis. They had to figure out a way to hold up their leaves so that they could receive the sunlight or the energy to drive the process. And they had to develop ways to transport what?
Glucose.
Blank for reproduction. Good. Eggs or sperm for reproduction. So there's two main groups of plants. Okay, main groups. There's a lot of subgroups, but the first group of plants is called bryophytes. And they don't have true roots, they don't have stems, and they don't have leaves. So really, they can't carry out photosynthesis because, they can, it's a slower process, I'm sorry. They can't carry water and nutrients from one place to another. They have to grow where there's excessive amounts of water, and they rely on water to transport the sperm and the eggs. So they're kind of like the old plants, okay? They did adapt to primarily a land full of water to actual land, but they still require water for their survival, or watery areas. I can't take it. So examples of bryophytes are hornworts, mosses, and liverworts, okay? Now let's talk about land plants. There's three groups within land plants. So you have bryophytes, which is a large group, and then you've got land plants, and there's so many that they're broken down into three groups. They all have something in common, which is vascular tissues to transport water. So that was the adaptive trait for their major evolutionary process from water to land. So the first are called tracheophytes. And these are what we reference as seedless plants. And a big example of seedless plants is ferns. They are known as the first true land plants. So if you look at the history of plants, the first plants to adapt from water to land were ferns. They have strong roots and they have stems. So my second group are seed bearing. So group 2 and 3 within my true land plants are seed bearing plants. And the first is called Gymnosperms. They're the first group of seed bearing, and if you look here you see something familiar. Anybody know what that is? Pine cones, okay? So that's an example of a gymnosperm or a conifer.
Wait, so they're their own
They're their own group of plants.
but they grow on trees.
Right. They can form a tree.
Pine tree.
Oh, so the tree.
Oh.
That's the.
Let's see who's with me. The last of the what? Raise your hand because I can't hear. Land plants, or more detailed, seed plants, okay? The last of the land plants and the second of the seed plants are called angiosperms. And they're plants with what?
Flower.
Flowers. And their reproductive structure is actually found in the flower. And examples are rice, wheat, and corn, or sunflowers. And how do you differentiate one from another is monocots and dicots. And I have a chart, and we're actually going to do a lab, and you're going to try to make these observations.